Stephen, we are now live.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the meeting on the 6th Street Viaduct Park, which is also known as the 6th Street Bridge Park and Proposition 68. Today is Wednesday, January 20th, 2021. And welcome. This is a meeting hosted by the Department of Recreation and Parks and the Bureau of Engineering with support from the Office of Council Member Kevin DeLeon. My name is Stephen Tran from the Department of Recreation and Parks, and I welcome you to the first meeting on the proposed project at 6th Street Bridge Park for Proposition 68 grant funding. Now you can follow this meeting on Zoom as well as Facebook Live. This meeting will be uploaded to our YouTube channel after its conclusion. Now, just some brief guidelines for this meeting. But the first thing we would like you to do is sign in. Please do so at your earliest convenience. Yumi will provide you or has provided you with a link in the chat box that will take you automatically to the sign-in sheet. It is very short. It will help us keep track of attendance, which is very important for the grant application. Now, if you'd like to ask questions or provide any comment in English or Spanish, please write them in the chat box, and we will read them out loud one by one during the question and answer section, which is at the end. When we are done answering your questions in the chat box, we will reserve 15 minutes for live public comments where you can speak live for 1 minute or whatever amount of time we can allow within that 15-minute span. We would like to do this at the end of the questions and answer section. This is because in case the questions in any case, if you did not get the chance to answer your question, or you would like to provide us with any additional comment. And when we get to that point, I will let you know. Now, after the presentation, we will have a link in the chat box for a brief audience survey where you can provide us with audience feedback and also a specific question that relates to the presentation that we will provide for you during the presentation. And to present to you today's panelists, so we have Nate Hayward, the Capital Projects Director from the Office of Councilmember Kevin DeLeon, Gary Lamb, Senior Civil Engineer from the Bureau of Engineering, Daryl Ford, our Superintendent from RAP Planning, Construction, and Maintenance, Bill Jones, a Chief Management Analyst, RAP Grants Administration, and from the RAP Grants Administration team, we also have Stephen Tran, which is myself, and Yumi Sangyan. We also have Jorge Rodas, our interpreter for Spanish speakers from Barbier International. And just to give you a sense of what the agenda is today, first we'll have an opening remark from Nate Hayward from CD14. Then I will go over the Prop 68 eligibility guidelines with you, as well as the results from the last round, which was the third round. After my presentation, Gary Lamb will give you an overview of the 6th Street Viaduct Park project. We'll also have then have our questions and answers. Let's end with a survey. And that's the agenda. So first, I'd like to introduce you to Nate Hayward, the Capital Projects Director from the Office of Council Member Kevin DeLeon. Nate?
Hi, thank you so much, Stephen, and thank you all so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate everyone coming out on Zoom. So the parks are very important to the council member. The council member actually wrote the enabling legislation, SB 5, which got Prop 68 on the ballot, which they'll subsequently describe in more detail. But we really wanted this as an opportunity to go after this funding to make sure that we are implementing the PARC improvements that the community wants to see, right? And that is going to best meet the needs of the people who are going to use this park on a daily basis. So we really ask you today, you're gonna, it's been a while, obviously, since meetings have been held. We're gonna update you on sort of the status of the project after we discuss Prop 68, and then discuss a little bit more about the scope of work. As many of you know, there's been previous community meetings, but there's definitely some areas that in the park where, haven't been fully fleshed out, and we really want to hear ideas from the community. And today we're focusing on that Mesquite Street area between Santa Fe and Mesquite Street, that little sliver right there where there hasn't been real discussion on. So we encourage people to provide feedback. We feel that we can put in a very strong grant application to the state, and we encourage you to stay involved, continue to be passionate, because that's what the Arts District is, and ask away. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Nate. So we actually have a pretty good audience for tonight. And just let me go over some of what we're trying to do here. What we'd like to do tonight is to inform you of the Prop 68 funding opportunity. Now, this is the fourth and final round for this application round. We all want to make sure that that we are submitting a Proposition 68 grant application. We want to also present this new park project, associated with the 6th Street Bridge. And fourth, and very importantly, we want to make sure that you are engaged in this park project development. We actually have a very robust series of scheduled meetings for you. So this is the first meeting as part of the Prop 68 initiative for this park project. Tonight's concentration will be in the Arts District, which is the west side of the 6th Street Bridge. And we're going to concentrate on the Mesquite Street area. Next Saturday, we're going to concentrate on the Boyle Heights and Clarence and Anderson Street. And then the third meeting, we'll have an overview of the project, which is a skate park in the Boyle Heights section. In our fourth meeting on January 28th, we're going to have in Boyle Heights some general design features. So you'll be able to essentially take a look and review our plans, which will include splash pad, playground, and other amenities. In our fifth meeting for Tuesday, February 2nd, we will be again going back to Boyle Heights, and in this particular case, review public art. And our last meeting, which is scheduled for Monday, February 8th, we'll go back to the Boyle Heights section and have a general discussion in partnership with the Boyle Heights Neighborhood Council. So we have, including today, 6 meetings. Now, why are we here and what is Prop 68? So Prop 68 was essentially created to develop new parks and new recreation opportunities in critically underserved communities. Our voters voted for Prop 68 by 57% in June of 2018. This is now the fourth and final round of the state park program, which is being funded by Prop 68. Now, what's the total amount of funding available? It's $395 million for this fourth and final round. Just remind everybody, this is a competitive grant program. So we are not guaranteed the funding. Our objective here is to put together an application which will include the schematics and the design that you will see today as we seek to refine them for the application. The maximum grant request per project is $8.5 million. And all the applications are due on March 12th, 2021. Should we be successful in obtaining a grant from the state for this project must be complete by March 2025. Now to go over some of the round 3 results. Now round 3 results included 478 applications that were sent by other agencies, including our agency and nonprofits. And all of these applications total $2.3 billion. Now, in the third round, the state had 255 million available, and they actually, the state received $2.3 billion worth of requests. The average grant request was 4.8 million, and the average grant amount was 4.1 million. Now, during the last round, out of the 478 applications that were received, 62 were awarded. And out of the 62 awarded, 28 were to create new parks, 14 were for expansions of existing parks, and 20 were for renovations. So in this particular project, we are asking for a grant to create a new park, which is actually what the state prioritizes according to its guidelines. Now, what are some of the eligibility guidelines for Prop 68? So all Prop 68 projects must create or renovate at least one recreation feature. And when Gary goes over his overview, you will see that we've got quite a number of recreation features that we would like you to look and review. And all the applications must meet at least one of the following criteria, which is, because the grant program was meant to serve underserved areas, we have to make sure that either one of these two are met. Basically, does the area around the park have 3 acres or less of parkland for 1,000 people? And is the household median income less than $56,982 per year? And when we look at this area, the area around the bridge, we actually hit both points because we have far less than the 3 acres per 1,000 people, which is the threshold. We have, in fact, 0.32 acres. And the median household income for this area is $54,325, which is less than the threshold of $56,982. So at this time, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Gary Lamb from the Bureau of Engineering. Gary?
Thank you, Stephen. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for taking your time off today or this evening to attend our community presentation here. So as a brief introduction, I'm the project manager for the 6th Street Park project, but the 6th Street Park project is part of the larger Viaduct project. So I want to also give you a brief overview of the Viaduct project status. So the 6th Street Viaduct, as everyone who lives in the area knows, is presently in construction. We're approximately 60% done with construction. If you were to look outside today, you will start seeing all the nice features of the bridge coming into play. You can see that from this photograph here. The contractor is installing all the arches right now. So where we stand on the completion time is we're looking at a completion of summer of 2022. So anticipated completion of 2022 for the viaduct. At which point we plan to start the construction for this for the PARC project. So the PARC project will hopefully be constructed as soon as the viaduct, as soon as we can get in, basically as soon as the contractor allows us in. Okay, so if we can phase it correctly, the construction for the PARC project will also start in summer 2022. Okay, so right now the PARC project we're currently in design. We're approximately 90% with design, but as Nate mentioned, there are still a number of areas that we're going to show tonight and focus tonight, especially on one part of it, where we would desire the community input, because there's in this one particular area, our designer hasn't really fleshed it out, and we want to bring it to the community for its opinion, basically. All right, so in this slide, right here, I'm just summarizing the funding that we already have secured, okay? So the money that's in place right now is City MICLA. MICLA stands for Municipal Incorporate. Municipal, help me out here, guys. Municipal of City of Los Angeles, some municipal investment, I think, of City of Los Angeles, or incorporation. City of Los Angeles. Incorporation. Okay, thanks,
Yeah.
Steven. All right, so we have city monies here. Next is Proposition K. Proposition K funding is solely for the sports field lighting component. Okay, so I can't use it on anything else. I can't use it on the soccer field. I cannot use it to do my DG. I cannot use it for the dog parks. It has to be for the multi-purpose field lighting or the pathways leading to the lighting. Okay, so that's restricted monies. The next funding source we have here is the former CRALA, the excess bond proceeds. So we have some of those monies coming in. And next we have what we call TFAR money, transfer of floor area rights money. And then the next source of funds is Metropolis grant funding. This is specifically dedicated to the soccer field. Okay, this is an amount of $1 million for the soccer field. And then finally, from a generous grant from Leonard Hill, this is the Leonard Hill Charitable Trust. And this is approximately $2 million towards the Arts Plaza in West Park. Okay. Okay, next slide. Thank you. All right, so how did we get to where we are tonight, or with this 90% completed design? The city, Bureau of Engineering, Rec and Parks, CD14, we held a series of large group meetings back in 2017 and 18. We had a series of 6 large community meetings where we received feedback from both the West Park neighborhoods and the Boyle Heights neighborhoods as to what community members, residents wanted to see at its parks. And so on this slide here, you see that we conducted surveys, and we collected 65 surveys at the Puente Learning Center back in February 7th of 2017. And then the following night, we were in the West Park, in the Arts District area at SciArc, collected another 59 surveys. And then we also had a number of outreach online as well. And we collected another 884 surveys. So as you can see, there were a number of good feedback that we received on this project. Now, and what were some of the things that we looked at here in terms of receiving feedback? If you see the PowerPoint slide here, we looked at various categories such as health and wellness, sports, adventure, education, arts and culture, nature and beauty. So basically, we had people look at these choice lists here and kind of vote for what they want to see at the parks, at the park rather. Okay, next slide, Stephen. And so here you see the results, the summary results of our surveys. And so what we did was we looked at the top 3 results from each of these categories and tried our best to implement as much as we could given our available funding. Obviously, if you look at some of the categories like adventure, we couldn't satisfy everything. There were things such as kayaking that we couldn't put into place at the moment. Also, that you see rock climbing and playground zip line. Those things we are not able to accommodate in our present design when you see me go over it. If looking at some of the other categories, arts and culture, people favor having performance spaces, maybe like summer movie nights, music. So we're able to incorporate that in our design. I'll show you as well with our multi-purpose fields. And then a lot of feedback was received on nature and beauty. So we've got a nice canopy of trees and landscaping and so forth, all right? And of course, there's active play, okay? Sports and games, soccer, dog park, playground equipment, all things that I'm gonna show you that we've incorporated into our park project. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so when we presented the concept to the community, we present three different schematics or concepts here. And just quickly here, the three were the promenade. Ooh, why they both, okay, there's a typo here. Anyways, concept one is promenade. Concept two is canopy and object. So that's a typo on this one. And then concept three is episodic. So promenade basically tries to mirror the pathway along the top of the bridge deck with the roadway. So it's very linear. Concept two, which is canopy and objects, and the one in the middle here with the typo, it tries to incorporate a lot of the oval shapes like the arches. And then episodic was concept three, and that was more compartmentalized, like having different rooms, if you will, different areas that were strictly for, say, active areas and more passive areas. So when we brought it to the community on both sides of the river, everyone converged onto the concept two, which was the one in the middle here, which is canopy and objects. All right. Next slide, please. So the PARC project, as we're looking at this Prop 68 funding, the PARC project has a lot of scope items that will lend itself nicely to the application of the Prop 68 funding here. Things that we're looking at in terms of Prop 68 funding is the skate park. The skate park presently is not in our parks project budget. However, our plan is that as we pursue the Prop 68 funding, we may, if we're fortunate enough to get the funding, we can, of course, implement the skate park, and which this is one of the topics of discussion for one of the community meetings. Of course, we've got general landscaping, basketball courts and volleyball courts definitely qualify. We've got a number of picnic areas and barbecue pits. We've got public restrooms on both sides that we're planning for. We've got, of course, our general lighting for the park, outdoor fitness equipment, playground, public art. That's another topic for one of the community meetings. Splash pad is another topic. Synthetic turf field is already pretty much designed. And that already has Metropolis funding, so that's secured. And of course, we've got our walking paths, jogging paths, and the various performance multi-purpose field areas that we're going after with this funding. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so this is a general overview of the PARC project here. I apologize that it's small text. I tried to fit everything on one screen so everybody can see the expansiveness of this park. It's a total of 12 acres. It's a linear park, as you can see. It follows pretty much the new alignment for the 6th Street Viaduct. All right, and of course there's some areas that protrude outside of the viaduct here. So there's 4 regions of the park. Because it's so large, we designate it into 4 different regions here. Going from left to right, we've got West Park, and part of West Park really is the Arts Plaza area as well. That's all the west side. So West Park, Arts Plaza, which is basically west side. And then we've got the River Gateway area. You can barely see it on here, but the River Gateway area incorporates the 6th Street Tunnel underneath the viaduct. And there's the LA River right there. the PARC project, we're not planning to do anything in the PARC in the LA River with the PARC project just yet, at the moment. All right. And then as we move eastward, we've got the East Park area. So the East Park area is the Boyle Heights area right here. All right, so next slide here, Stephen. All right, so I'm zooming in here. So I'll walk you guys through from east to west of the various amenities that we're going to feature for the PARC project here. Again, most of this has been designed, 90% of it has been designed, but we're going to highlight areas where we're going to need the community input on, okay? Okay, so in keeping with the theme of canopy and objects, you see these nice ovals that our design architect Hargraves and Associates has put into place here. You see these nice ovals and arch, basically mirroring the arches of the bridge, okay? So that's the whole theme here. So that's why you see all these elliptical oval shapes. Okay, so starting on the easternmost side of the park here, we're bordered by the by US Highway 101 to the east, and the area between Clarence and the 101 freeway here, we've got the dog park area. Okay, so this is where we're gonna have a dog park. This is the park for both the large and the small dogs. Okay, and as we cross the street heading west between Clarence and Anderson here, this is going to be where we're going to get our first flex field. So this is the multi-purpose field that you kind of see, like the half oval shape on the southern end of the park here between Anderson and Clarence. And that space is a natural turf field. It's a flexible field, meaning that we can use it for recreation, like soccer, football, or also performance-based areas. So we're thinking of things like some type of movie nights out here, cultural events. So all of that can take place in this field. And then just north of here are the oval areas where the designer has designated this area to have some type of adult fitness equipment, a rain garden, some landscape seating areas, and some grilling and picnic tables, okay? And then as we march along going west between now Mission and Anderson, so this is the large portion of the park that's dedicated to the active play area, all right? So between Mission and Anderson. So this is where we're gonna have our basketball court, volleyball court area, some more adult fitness areas. We're planning to have a Rec and Parks office building as well as public restroom. So you see those two egg-shaped kind of gray structures. That's where the office and restroom building is going to be. To the south of that, we're proposing our splash pad and children's play area. So those are items that we're going to need community input on. And we also have our second flexible play and performance lawn area here. So just like the previous one is a purpose field for all sorts of events. And then as we move westward here, the darker green, that's our U10 and U8 synthetic soccer fields. Okay, so there's going to be some seating here as well to watch the folks play on the field. And then as we move westward here toward Mission Road, we're going to have more of a rain garden, more general landscaping, just a smaller quiet zone area here. Now, as we move westward between Mission Road and the railroad tracks here, this is where the Viaduct's helical ramp comes down. And then this is also the area where we're going to plan, that we're planning the future skate park. Okay, so you see that grayed out area. So the approximate size of this grayed out area is approximately, I think, around 8,000 square feet, thereabout. So at one of the next community meeting. I'm not sure which one it was, I think 2, 3, or 4. We're going to talk to the folks about what they want to see as skate park features here. All right. Okay, so that's the East Park scope here. The East Park acreage is around 7 acres or so here. Okay, so it occupies 7 acres out of the entire 12 acres. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so here are some of the designers' renderings showing the East Park. So this is the view of the proposed synthetic turf field. As you can see in the foreground, we've got some seating areas, and also you see some seating areas in the background. There's going to be sports field lighting here. That's where the Prop K component is going to be used, the Prop K funding that I mentioned earlier. So there's the sports field lighting that's going to be lit for nighttime games. Next slide, please. This is a vision of the splash pad area in the foreground and the children's play area. This is just for diagrammatic purposes only. The playground equipment, we will talk about what you guys want to see at one of the community meetings. So it definitely does not set in stone, it's just diagrammatic here. Next slide, please. Okay, so that was the East Park area. Now, as we cross over to the Arts District side, we get into the West Park, or the west side. The PowerPoint that you see in front of you right now is focused on the Arts Plaza area. So the Arts Plaza area is the area that's just east of Santa Fe, between Santa Fe Avenue and the railroad tracks there. So in the Arts Plaza area, that's where the Leonard Hill Charitable Trust donated the $2 million to develop a performance stage area here for just the various events as well. It could be cultural events, art showcases, areas where people can simply relax as well. So right behind the stage there is all this terrace seating. As you can see, it's seating, concrete terrace seating that looks down onto the stage area. And then the pathway there between the stage and the concrete seating, that pathway is the meandering path that leads towards the 6th Street the 6th Street tunnel. So that's the existing tunnel right there. So what we're planning to do with the tunnel is we're planning to just do some minor refurbishment of the tunnel, basically repainting it, remodeling the entry to the tunnel, adding some lighting as well. Okay, so that's what we're doing there. And then there's an area that's south of Mesquite there, kind of in that peach color, salmon color. Well, this is the area that we're going to focus on when we get into the nuts and bolts of our discussion here. And then as we march westward from Santa Fe westward in the PowerPoint drawing here, this is the entry point of the West Park area at this point. You can barely make out the outline of where the pedestrian ramp comes down from the viaduct. So there's a ramp that comes down to take bicyclists and pedestrians from the viaduct onto the West Park area. And then directly underneath the viaduct here there in that yellow region there, that's our proposed cafe and restroom area, okay? So there's gonna be a plant cafe, public restroom. And in this space right here in the West Park area, just west of Santa Fe, we've got another dog park on this side. So we have one on the east side. We also have a dog park on the west side here. Also some adult fitness equipment here too. And just general areas for people to lounge or relax along the West Park here. It got cut off. I apologize. I couldn't fit everything in here. But west of this is Mateo Street here, for those of you familiar with the area. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is our designer's rendering of West Park area. This is actually a view of as you're coming, as you're going east, okay? So just coming off of Mateo Street, looking east here. And then you can see how we have the ramp coming down, the pedestrian ramp coming down there in the background. And of course, to the background there also, you've got the viaduct. Okay, next slide, please. And this one's a rendering showing the Leonard Hill Arts Plaza area, okay? So to the left of that is that terrace seating that I talked about, and to the right is the performance stage. And then the viaduct is right above us right there. So it's right underneath the viaduct. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so as Stephen mentioned, and also Nate mentioned, there's going to be a series of 6 meetings for this PARC project here to discuss the Prop 68 scope. I've basically tried my best to highlight visually the various areas that we're going to be talking about, at least for 4 of the 6 meetings. I know it's small, I do apologize to everyone that's a little small. So I've numbered the meeting, what I've done was I labeled the numbering according to the meeting numbering. So meeting number 1 tonight is of course going to be focused on this area south of Mesquite. That's the area south of the Arts Plaza area. Meeting number 2, we're going to be focusing on the area between Clarence and Anderson, okay? Meeting number 3 is going to be that circular area. That's going to be for the skate park. And then meeting number 4, kind of the one that kind of looks like a fish shape, I guess. That's the children's play area and equipment. And then meeting number 5 is just public art in general. That's why I couldn't just highlight any one area. It's just public art in general for the park. And of course, meeting number 6 is just East Side general discussion. All right. Next slide, please. Okay. So hopefully now that brought everybody up to speed with where we're at. So again, we're basically 90% design, 90% done with the design. However, we still have elements that we do want people's feedback on, and that's the purpose of the next 4 to 6 meetings here. Just getting the general feedback on specific items, hearing your thoughts for things. So tonight's first inaugural meeting is basically the area south of Mesquite here that we're looking at. Okay, so the only thing that we've done right here with our design team is we've left it as a decomposed granite area. Okay, so we really want to open it up to the community to receive their feedback as to what they want to see in this area here. Now this area is approximately 30 feet wide, and the longest leg of the trapezoid here is 280 feet. And the shorter leg of the trapezoid is 240 feet. And just south of here is the LADWP substation. Next slide, please. We can kind of see. Yeah, this one's good. So you can kind of see I've highlighted in red here in where our plant DG area is right now, that we can open up for discussion. And then to the south of that, for those of you familiar, is a DWP substation here. So it's the electrical substation servicing the area. So I've talked about this with Rec and Parks and also with the council office. This is generally an area that we definitely want to avoid active recreation. We definitely don't want people kicking balls or throwing frisbees over into accidentally, of course, over to the DWP substation, and God forbid, cause an electrical outage of some sort. So we're definitely looking at more passive recreation type things, maybe landscaping of sorts as a general idea. Okay, and the next slide, please. I want to show you on this slide just a Google Street View of the area that I'm talking about. you can see, of course, on the left of this street view, we've got the bridge construction going on. This is going to be, the area left of here is going to be the future Leonard Hill Arts Plaza. The area is actually going to be depressed at the Leonard Hill Arts Plaza. So it's not at the grade that you're looking at. It's going to have a transition that goes down, a smooth transition that goes down towards the Arts Plaza. And then the area that I've highlighted in red here is that trapezoidal area. And then as you can see right there, we've got that LEDWP substation. Okay, so things that we're gonna have to consider is, of course, some type of maybe better fencing or wall that separates us between the park and DWP right there. And of course, lighting as well, and perhaps bringing in irrigation as well into this area. All right. Okay, next slide, please. I think there was a, okay, so this one, hopefully everybody's been typing away at chat. I'm not seeing any of the chat, but I'm sure Stephen and Yumi are seeing what everybody's writing. But tonight's presentation, what the outcome really, as we plan for our Prop 68 competitive grant funding, is to basically ask you guys as the community members, what features you want to see for this area south of Mesquite. All right, that's the whole purpose here. Okay, so I'm not sure at this point, Nate, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, sorry if anyone here is screaming in the background, that's my son. So I think what we're gonna do right now is go through the questions people have asked in the chat box, and then we're gonna go into a public comment period where if people really, wanna go up on video and say something, more than happy to do so if there's any information you guys want to share, and then we'll let people talk for that. And then one thing we do want to add though is at the end of it, the survey is important, right? So based upon what you've heard from what the city's talked about, the various features that are incorporated and don't incorporated, or what you hear from other community people who present with ideas, put down the types of stuff that you're interested in, that you like or don't like, right? That can give us a much better idea when we're going to the state. We can say, hey, the community wanted X, we're putting in X. So I would just highly recommend that you guys fill out the survey link when it comes to that. So Stephen, I don't know if you guys want to go through the chat questions first and we can answer those, and then we'll do the in-person video stuff.
Sure, Nate, thank you. And thanks, Gary, for the presentation. So I just want to, as Nate mentioned, this is a question that we'd like to hear feedback from. And this question also happens to be in the survey, which is in the chat box. So we encourage you to actually click on that survey and provide us with your feedback, in answering this question. I'm going to basically go back to the area that Gary had mentioned. I've gone over with you. And, if you have any ideas, this is, as Gary mentioned, this is, we'd like your feedback on any possible passive amenity, meaning landscaping. Just give us your ideas as to what, you'd like to see there. Is any sort of plantings, landscapings, any particular themes, designs that you'd like to see? Just include them. There's no wrong question, and we will, basically collect all that information. One thing is also that this survey link is also available, and we'll make it available at the conclusion of the meeting. Once we upload this on our YouTube page, that survey link will be available. So for if you didn't get the chance to complete it, you can complete it then. So what I'm going to do now is go over the questions that were asked in the chat box. And once we go through the chat box questions, we'll open it up to the live comment, and we'll ask you to speak within a minute or so, just to give everybody the chance to speak. And within that minute, if you've got, let's say, other people in the same room, they can chime in as well. We ask you to just state what you would like, comments, criticism, questions within that minute, and then we will provide you with an answer. All right, so I'll go over some of the questions. starting first. So I hope you were able to sign in using the link that was provided. That was the first question. And then, so the second question is, the chats which started prior to our signing on do not show up in Zoom. Where do we sign up? I hope you hopefully found, the link for, the sign-in sheet. And if you don't, please let us know. Okay, and Yumi has provided you with that link. And thank you, Frank, for sending out the more details about the Mesquite Street. I'm glad you recognize Nate. And Craig is here too. Okay, so first question is, I would love to see some sort of water feature from an artist competition. We would like to see community garden, but that could be a vertical garden and or part of an art commandment. We would create community guidelines for a competition if there is an area. I feel that diagonal connections along the river could be great. As a theme person, activities which can be without too much issue with tort are exciting, and we would love to see this area be different. I want to see Boyle Heights have a good voice and to transition. Super stoked to be here, and thank you for speaking to us today. Looking forward to hearing more about what we can do. You will hear from wonderful people as well. And Gary, would you like to provide any feedback in regards to the some of the arts component that was being mentioned?
Gary, you want me to chime in on that, or?
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So on the arts component, there's a few opportunities for public art. There is a public artist who was picked, I believe, many years ago, and there had been some discussion about putting his art on the west side. There was also a lot of discussion about public art for the east side, which is why we had we have a community discussion about that coming up, just so we can have a robust discussion around public art. If people want to see more public art on the west side, we're open to that. It's just a matter of like what it is specifically, right? Because there is, the community already looked at the Arts Plaza, right? The dog park, et cetera. So it's just a matter of like where to fit stuff in. There is a little more space on the east side, which is why we're, having a meeting focused on the public art. But art is definitely going to be a huge part of this. I mean, we're in the arts district and the Arts Plaza that was generously donated in honor of Leonard Hill is going to provide performing art space, right? That is going to be designed for, not just having art that you can like look at and say, oh, that's cool public art, but something you can also experience, which I think is a huge part of, having a vibrant community. So we firmly believe there's going to be ample opportunities for public art.
Thanks, Nate. Next question is, how come no Quimby fees are allocated?
Yuval, that's a great question. So what Quimby fees, for those who don't know, is basically developer fees, fees that developers pay in lieu of building park improvements on their site. I'm sorry, that's my son in the background. I apologize. So from looking at the funding for this, we were able to piece together funding from a few different sources. They're obviously in downtown in particular, there's a lot of stress on Quimby from different sources. The reason why we wanted to go for Prop 68, frankly, is because there's a limited pool of Quimby, right? But there's multiple parks, both in Boyle Heights and in downtown that need improvements, whether it be First and Broadway or Pershing Square or Hollenbeck or whatever. And this project we feel is the most competitive for a Prop 68 grant application, right? So we want to do the best to get money from outside sources and then backfill where necessary. If we were to apply for, say, a non-new park, right, which the state doesn't see as favorably as new parks, you know, we'd be sort of throwing money away, right? So the goal is maximize our outside money first and then figure out where we need to backfill.
Thanks, Nate. Next question is, dear BOE, are you able to insert the link to watch this video later into the chat so that those of us can send it to those who are not able to attend tonight? As I mentioned, you know, the link to tonight's presentation will be available on our YouTube page, and Yumi can provide you with that link, you know, in the chat box. But once we upload this video to YouTube, you will be able to send that link to whomever you want, and we'll include the survey link as well. So thank you for asking. Next question is, hi team, how is Kelly Shannon going to share her presentation, and how is she going to be able to talk about the urban forest proposal?
So I think that what we're going to allow for is for once we get through the questions, and we're going to, you know, going through the questions, we're going to focus on specifically, you know, sort of what people have asked in here so we can answer. But for anyone who wants to like present or, you know, talk about the types of things they would like to see for the Mesquite area, we're going to have that at the end after we go through these questions, where people can share. You know, we say 1 minute for each person, but if a couple people want to merge their times together, that's fine. You know, in order to present a coherent thought. So everyone will definitely have an opportunity to speak once we get through these questions in here.
And Deborah, I just want to chime in also. We found out that there was some technical difficulties, and so what we would like you to consider is provide, if you've got...
Steven,
yeah.
Steven, sorry, they actually sent, I got an email, they sent me their presentation. So they're gonna, what I'll do is I will share or what they wanted to talk about, and I will share my screen so that they can talk about it.
Okay, well, Yumi will work with you, you know, to make that happen. It's just that, you know, I thought there was some technical issue with
That's
that,
okay.
but yeah, let me know. Dear panelists, will there be a way to present the community ideas for the Mesquite sliver of land, communities SP? And so I mentioned earlier that there was a survey, so certainly you can use, you know, that survey link, and if you don't have it, let us know, to basically provide your feedback on that specific stretch of land that we're seeing right now, on any sort of passive amenity ideas that you may have. The next question is permeable, I guess, do we have any permeable grounds? This is great work, and I look forward to learning more, especially where we can assist. Bravo.
Hey,
Gary,
yes, I can address this. So on the PARC project, we're looking at permeable paver options. That's one of the things that we're trying to incorporate here with this funding. Permeable pavers is, of course, an element that may be a little costlier, but we have instructed our team to look into it, and they actually did implement it. It's just whether or not we're able to fit in our budget right now.
Okay, thanks, Gary. So the next question is, hello, I will be making a small presentation. Can I give you access? Okay, so I think Nate will present. Is there any way to have a walking loop around the perimeter to be used for walking, running, much like the Rose Bowl loop?
Okay, so in our PARC project here, the challenge of doing a loop that goes around all 12 acres is the fact that there's a number of street crossings. So can we go back to the overall view of the park, Stephen or
Sure.
Yumi? So that whole 12 acres that we show. Okay. Oh yeah, that one. All right. So the part, unfortunately, is split up or is bisected or by streets. So west part, you've got, of course, we've got Santa Fe Avenue right there. east part, we've got Mission Road, Anderson, Clarence. So it's harder to make a huge continuous loop for the entire part. However, there are walking and jogging paths in say, if we go to the Boyle Heights East Park area, zoom in, Stephen. In the East Park area, there is a large portion, yeah, between Mission and Anderson there, where if you look carefully north and south, there's actually a walking and jogging path north that parallels north and south of this portion of Boyle Heights here. I'm sorry, of East Park here, between Mission and Anderson area. This is our active zone area, if you recall. This is our active play area. So joggers, walkers can definitely do a rectangular loop around this area here.
Okay. Thanks, Gary. There's I guess a suggestion for the Mesquite area for a sculpture park. Another comment is we would like to see a natural forest for that area. Thank you for your comment. And art is a great idea. Now, regarding parking, how is this being addressed? Also, will there be EV charging stations?
Okay, are you there with me, Nate? Maybe we can jointly handle this one. But I can speak to the parking that we're going to have available. All right, so I think we had looked at the parking situation. We tried our best to accommodate as much parking, but we also want to put in as much park features as possible. So right now, the PARC project, the only available dedicated parking is along Anderson Street to the west. So in this PowerPoint slide that everybody's looking at, the dedicated parking is going to be to the west of Anderson Street, okay? So unfortunately, there's only a few parking spots here, all right? There's probably a dozen or so spots only. But so the park users, they will have public transportation. I think Nate, you had talked about bringing a dash route in this area.
Gary, I can elaborate on that.
Okay.
So as Gary mentioned, the goal obviously was to prioritize, sorry for the background, please. The goal was to prioritize park space, but we want to obviously make sure people can get there. So there's a few things that we're looking at. One is the dash reroutes system, which was the dash on the, the Arts District side. I think it's the new F route that's going to be going, which is going to go down, I believe, Santa Fe or Mateo right through the park. The second thing is there's supposed to be a new loop in Boyle Heights. So we're looking at how that route can be tailored to serve Pico Gardens. I think it's going on one of the north-south streets, Boyle or Clarence or something between like 1st and 7th Street. So we're looking at the best ways to loop that around. And then there is also going to be, the city gave Metro money to study putting in a Metro station on the west side. And Gary, if you can go back, or someone can go back to the screen that shows the overall design. Yeah. So if you guys see on the far right of the West Park area, right next to the train tracks, you see a little purple line or pink line where the tunnel is. There's some gray space next to it, which is space that the city has, which it's reserving for a future Metro stop. So we know there's not a lot of parking, but our goal is to have get people there in other means.
Nate, do we want to mention the possibility of the LA San area by Mission Road right there?
Yeah, so we're also looking at doing some parking. You know, it's a feasibility analysis with sanitation right now about doing some parking at Mission and Jesse Street. We're constructing sidewalks on there right now to get people to the future park. So we're very cognizant of getting people there. There is grant funding that has been secured for the west side for bicycle facilities on Santa Fe and Mateo. On the east side, there's funding for improvements on Clarence and Anderson, sidewalks, lighting, new signals. So we see this as a holistic package. So.
And so that we addressed the entire question, there was the question about EV charging stations.
Yeah, so one of the things we're looking at is the city is looking at doing a undergrounding district for the power lines around the park. And one of the goals of that would be with DWP is looking at, obviously when you underground the power lines, putting the infrastructure for some EV charging in along the various sidewalks. So on the streets, we're still evaluating the best way to do that. But as you can see, there's Clarence, Anderson, Mission, Santa Fe, and Mateo, which all have to be looked at. So what's our next question, Stephen?
Okay, thank you. It's like another comment on the Mesquite area, a mason or rock paintable wall with sculpture park would be nice there. And I also encourage you to actually go to our survey and enter that as part of your submission, so that will be recorded. But we'll take notice. Several tables and benches for park visitors to play chess. How about actual plants? That'll be something. Since we already have a skate park at Hollenbeck Lake Park, it would be nice to have tennis courts, especially since our tennis courts have been replaced with skate park at Hollenbeck Park Lake. And though there isn't enough funding for a skate park, it would be nice to have a sport for all ages instead of having to go out of our community.
I can answer that. So we are having focused discussions on the east side in particular. The Clarence and Anderson Street area is a good opportunity for other additional recreation features that people want in there. But previous community meetings, there have been a strong desire for soccer fields because there is only one in Boyle Heights, and a lot of times it's programmed by leagues and like families don't get a chance to use it, right? There's definitely in the future meetings going to be a real opportunity to discuss that on the east side, such as tennis or handball or other things.
Thanks, Nate. So I get another comment is there is a need for a tennis court on the Boyle Heights side. Another comment relating to the Mesquite side, I suppose, is the natural planting, trees, and respite from all the concrete. Another question, how are people going to get from the east side to the west side of this? Is there parking? Are there EV stations, bicycle, tricycle parking? We've answered part of that question, and I think the bicycle and tricycle parking.
Yeah. Can you go to the east? Actually, I'll keep it here. So one of the things that we're obviously the bridge is a connection, but there's going to be dedicated protected bicycle facilities and very wide sidewalks on the bridge that are protected from vehicles by concrete barriers. There's going to be stairs on both the east and the west side connecting people from the park to the bridge. And then streets, Santa Fe, Mateo, and Mission Road will all have bicycle facilities. Clarence and Anderson, obviously, because their size, they're not as feasible. So the goal is to have all the streets in the area connecting people to the park.
Thanks, Nate. Another comment, maybe for this area, a community compost site. Another comment is for shade trees. Have you considered a paddle tennis court so that we don't have to go all the way to Santa Monica Pier, Muscle Beach? Gary or Nate, any comment on that?
I think that's the paddle thing. If you're referring to general areas for that, I don't know if that's specific to the Mesquite area or just in general. For the Mesquite area, I think one thing that we're very worried about is the power facilities, right? And making sure that we don't have objects flying over. And I know paddle tennis isn't as big of a deal, right? But making sure that we're, not having anything that could cause any major safety concerns. On the east side, like I said, there's ample discussion for the tennis courts, these other things that people have brought up, particularly in the Clarence and Anderson area.
Thank you. And then another comment for the, I suppose the Mesquite side is large trees. Another comment is plantings that are tall and can create shade and some level of screening of the DWP light. I think a mobility hub, metro bike share hub. Okay. Another comment on behalf of a small group, we have been developing a possibility for the site as a memorial urban forest. We have a short presentation we would like to be happy to show everyone if there is some time. So we will accommodate that. Trees, trees, trees. Thank you. Will there be any waterfalls? It would be nice to have sports for the seniors, especially since we have 3 large senior living on Boyle Avenue, and our Hollenbeck Lake does not have anything for seniors. Yet Bowling Greens, can we have senior teams and perhaps community teams too? Gary or Nate?
Well, okay. For these bowling greens, or I'm not too familiar with it, but we'll definitely take this comment and take a look at it.
Thank you. Comment, very excited to see the development of this area and the direction of the park in general. However, I would like to know how you plan on dealing with the truck traffic that comes in and out of this street on a daily basis.
So I think that the truck traffic is a good point. Jesse Street down there was widened to allow for truck traffic, and Mesquite is being designed for truck turning. If you see, there's like a little elbow on the corner right where Mesquite bends. So that's being designed for truck traffic. We also are putting a dedicated pedestrian crosswalk underneath the bridge on Santa Fe, which will be like it'll have flashing lights to make sure that it's a safe crossing point, to make sure we don't have conflicts between trucks and pedestrians.
Thanks, Nate. Next question is, where is the dog park?
Okay, so on East Park here, it's between Clarence and the 101 freeway. If you can move your cursor maybe over that. Yeah, there we go. No, between Clarence and the 101. Right. Between Clarence and the 101. Yeah, right there. So that's the East Park dog park. And then on the west side here, we've got the dog park just west of Santa Fe. Yeah, right there.
Okay. Thanks, Gary. Next one. Okay, so you have, basically all the links for the Facebook Live, Facebook, and the YouTube, as well as the survey. Okay. How many spaces for disabled parking? Is there any more parking? I hope that you will have plenty of trees for the parking areas.
We will have ADA disabled parking. In terms of the numbers, we'll definitely have to get back to this person with regard to how many spaces there are. But but we know there is at least one for sure.
And it'll meet all code standards. So
yeah.
Another comment is maybe a Tesla charging center would be nice. Another comment is we need to advocate to Metro to make the 6th Street Arts District Transit Station stay on track. Keep up the good work, Nate. Okay, another mention, traffic, which I think we answered. Okay, great to hear there will be a dash route that will make park access easier for those not able to conveniently walk to the park. Also, the idea of shade trees and more greenery will be a great addition to a very densely constructed, wonderful neighborhood that doesn't have much greenery. Thank you. Is there a place to picnic?
Yes, there's plenty of green space where folks can enjoy some quiet time. Right now, in the East Park area where the ovals are between Anderson and Clarence, there are like barbecuing, picnicking areas, tables, and just south of the oval as well, between Anderson and Clarence. Stephen, if you can, yeah, right where your pointer is, right there, picnic and grilling area, just to the east of Anderson Street, right there. Okay, so we've got areas there. Throughout the park, in those meadow areas just south of the synthetic turf field between Mission and Anderson there's opportunities for picnicking over there too. And of course, whenever the flex fields aren't being actively utilized, is available for picnicking. Along the West Park area, areas between Mateo and Santa Fe, there's a lot of green space over there too for picnicking. I think in one of the renderings, we showed some tables and chairs out there too in one of the renderings for West Park.
Thank you. One question for Nate is, are you sure the stairs from the bridge to the park are back per original plan?
Yes, the stairs from the bridge deck down to the park, meaning the one by Santa Fe and Mesquite on the west side, and I think it's the 3 or 4 on the east side, are all still in. The stairs over the arches are not in.
Okay, thank you. And so just for the sake of time, I will, if we have a comment, I will abridge it, and then, but thank you so much for so many of your comments. The park designs look beautiful. Thank you. What is this?
Go ahead. Sorry, Stephen. No, go ahead, Stephen. Sorry.
Yeah. What is the status of the park in the event the grant is not awarded to the city?
That's a great question. All right. So right now we have, if you recall, I had that one PowerPoint that shows all the funding. So right now we have secured roughly 18 million in construction dollars. So we're able to award what we call the base park project, which will include many of the amenities that you have here. There's a number of things that we unfortunately can't include within the 18 million, which we're trying to pursue the external funds for, which is the Prop 68 funding. And in that case, we have a fields point in our project construction documents. Basically, again, we have a base project which we can afford the $18 million. And then we have what we call additive alternates that we put in here in addition to the base project in the event that we do have funding, like the Prop 68 monies and so forth for the Quimbys. So that if we have the money available, we'll award the full park project. If not, we'll at least be able to award the $18 million base park project.
And Gary, I want to add on there that if we don't get the grant, there are other grant opportunities as well as city sources that working through the city process and with departments we can look at. You've all did mention Quimby. There's other things such as Measure A, et cetera. So, the goal is to get to whatever the final concept is that, come through these meetings. The 8.5 million is obviously our best shot to get it all at once, but that doesn't mean we're not going to try to get as many features as possible through other funding sources if we don't get it.
Thank you. How will visitors on wheelchairs get up and down? Any elevators on the east and west side for people with disabilities?
So there are no elevators, but we have 2 ADA accessible ramps. Actually, technically it's 3. On the west side, there is the north sidewalk peels off into the park. You can see like a little line that goes through it that's ADA. And then on the east side, there's a very, very large circular ramp that connects both the east and west side sidewalks to the bridge at a ADA compliant, wheelchair accessible scope down to Mission Road in the park.
Okay.
So I think now that we've got those questions, I'd like to go to allowing people to, present virtually or say anything, during their time. Yumi, I don't know if you can see how people raise their hands or what the best way to do that is.
Right, if anyone would like to speak, please raise your hand and I'll be more than happy to unmute you. And I do see Kelly Shannon has raised her hand. Kelly, you will have a minute to address our panelists starting now.
Thank you very much. In fact, I am representing a group that has been mentioned a few times. We have a small presentation to share for a design proposal for the small sliver of land we are discussing. And I think Nate has that presentation.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yumi, are you able to allow me to share my screen?
Nate, you should be able to.
Okay, okay, great. Let me share. Hang on. View. Hang on. Where the hell is it? Can people see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, Kelly. So just in the interest of time, if there's a couple people who want to speak, we just ask that you guys cede your time to other people, just so that we can hear everybody, if it does go over a minute.
Okay, I think it will surely go over a minute, but I hope some of my colleagues can, I think they've agreed to cede me a little bit of their time. So as I mentioned, there's a small group of people and we would like to present what we've been developing over a few months to have input and to hopefully complement the wonderful work that's been done to date. So as you see from this first image, the name of the development, the project we've been working on is in fact a memorial for a dear friend of those of us who got together. I know she's has a very large presence in the arts district. So Gudrun Goch, who has been a resident of Los Angeles, had been a resident of Los Angeles from 1997 and living in the arts district in 2004. And to the great sadness of many, many people, she actually lost a 14-year battle with cancer in June of 2020. So what we have done is we've been working to try to find an appropriate memorial for Gudrun. Perhaps, Nate, you can go to the next slide, please. So what we've been working on and looking at many sites in the arts district is to try to develop a meaningful place to remember the wonderful person that Gudrun was, and to do something that would really honor her, but also give all of the residents of the arts district and beyond a place to enjoy the city. And we thought, knowing Gudrun's great love of nature, her own involvement in the industrial district green group, we proposed this small sliver of land to become, in fact, an urban forest. We thought it would be a wonderful place to kind of be a green oasis, basically in the midst of a lot of, and to complement the new park that will be coming, to complement that and to give a reprise from all of the concrete and asphalt that we know this part of the city has. We saw it as something as a small piece of almost wilderness landing in Los Angeles, something that wouldn't be overly choreographed, that would work with native and drought tolerant species, and basically would be what we saw as providing a lot of shade, nourishment for the mind and for the body, and a place to meet others, and also a place to contemplate, to sit. So we saw it as a place to remember for those of you that have known Gudrun, but for those who also do not know Gudrun, it would just be simply a wonderful forest to get lost in and to find yourself. If you could go to the next slide, and I will go quickly through the next. So here, of course, is the sliver we're talking about, and the next one, then Nate, the last one. So this is the project as we've been developing it. And one of my colleagues here, Gabriela, can probably add a little bit more. But basically, we've tried to develop a scheme that would include 16 trees of different, as I said, local species, of course, including also an olive tree, a kind of very symbolic tree, an important tree also for Gudrun herself. In lieu of benches, we imagined to have some large boulders, the boulders that could be scattered. So really looking as almost a piece of a forest, a piece of urban nature coming into the city, and being, becoming part of the larger park that's been proposed by Hargreaves and the city. But at the same time, being slightly different in the sense that it would be as natural as possible. And of course, we would try to have a very simple and very discreet, say, plaque, either embedded in the ground or potentially on one of the rocks. And these large boulders would be the places that they would be large enough and shaped that they could, or chosen, that they could also serve as seats. And I end maybe this small presentation with that, and thank you for a bit of time to show this.
Great. Thank you. And is there anyone else who would like to, I guess, Yumi, if there's anyone else that would like to, I'm going to go to this. Sorry, how do I do this? Am I stop sharing? Pause share. Okay. I don't know if there's a way to take back the sharing from me.
Stephen, I believe we'll have to start screen sharing.
I'm clicking on the screen share. Okay, I'll do that. Thank you. Okay. There was just one question that came. Will there be a first aid station, cooling station?
So first aid station. So yeah, so at the recreation, so there's going to be obviously a couple buildings, one on the west side, Park Cafe on that yellow spot right there. Sorry for the noise. And then one on the east side by the recreation facility. We'll have first aid equipment there in case of anything that, goes wrong. Cooling stations, there's going to be water fountains throughout the park. There's going to be, Gary, how many total trees are we looking at for this project? It's a lot, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. Okay, if you guys all recall this, the canopy and objects theme, I forgot to mention the whole theme for canopy and objects was a lot of landscaping and trees to add that canopy. So there's a lot. If someone was really desire, I can get that approximate number for the community member who's asking.
We can try and have that at the next community meeting, and answers to those questions. Is there anything else? I saw there was a few questions in the Q&A. Maybe we can answer those really quick. The Rose running loop, that was already answered. The second one, will you be diverting water from the river to clean, filter with or without technology? No, we're not going to be filtering water from the river as part of this project. However, they are doing that up by the cornfields, where I believe they're looking at doing a water wheel type thing. Will you have a free wall for artists to use to paint and participate on a regular basis? Somewhere odd, I guess. So the public art component, there's really, ample opportunity for that. What it looks like, whether it be a wall or something else, is really open for public discussion. I think when we have the public art community meeting, that'll be a good time to figure out what type of public art people want to see. Question on the rock wall with paintings. So, okay, that's not a climbing wall. Having some sort of barrier beyond just the chain link fence separating the Mesquite Street area from the DWP substation is optimal and something we'd like to do. What that looks like, we're very open. If that's something the community wants, rock features or brick, I don't know, whatever under the sun, there's many opportunities there. Any plans to underground the power lines? So as I mentioned, there's plans to underground the power lines, any that go through the park between Santa Fe and Mesquite, as well as on Santa Fe and Mateo, not Mesquite, as well as on Santa Fe and Mateo. However, the large power lines that go along the river, we do not have plans to underground that.
Thanks, Nate. Is there anyone that would like to, share a public comment during this live comment session? Just raise your hands. Okay. Yumi, are there any more questions on Facebook Live?
There are no more questions on Facebook Live.
Great. So let me just go back to the, Nate, would you like to provide a closing remark as I look for the slide?
Yeah, I just think that we, this park is a huge opportunity to really provide a lot of great public space, over 12 acres total between the east side of the river and the west side of the river. And this really is the community's park, right? So that's why your guys' feedback is important, and entering in the things that you're thinking about in the survey box that Yumi just put in is critical, right? So that way we can figure out, if people like certain types of tree species or they like certain design aesthetics for the various areas that we're looking at, as you can see on the screen. That's the feedback we want. The city has no vested interest in doing anything that's not what the community wants to see, right? And that's why it's critical why we hear that feedback. I know the council member is very excited to see this park start when the bridge finishes, and provide this critical open space to the community. As you can see, that was really telling is the park acres per 1,000 people was below 1. There's the only park space between the 101 freeway on the east and in Boyle Heights, and basically Alameda, I think on the west, is the Arts District Park, which is a little tiny corner park. So this area is in dire need of open space, and we think this is a great opportunity to provide many different uses and balance many different interests for the type of park space people want to see. So please stay engaged, please fill out the survey, and wish us luck, obviously, on the grant application.
Thanks, Nate. And I'd also like to thank Gary Lamb for presenting for us tonight. It is just to show you, the scheduled meetings. So we have concluded tonight's meeting, and the next meeting will be this Saturday, upcoming Saturday at 10:30 a.m. And our focus will be on the Boyle Heights side, specifically on the Clarence and Anderson, street side, and you'll be able to, provide your feedback, on that particular topic. And I just want to thank everyone for having attended tonight's meeting. It was a lively and robust discussion, and then we thank you for attending. We will provide you, with the YouTube upload tonight, and along with the survey link, so that you can encourage, your friends and family to watch and also complete as well. And so thank you very much, and have a great evening.